All right, so I want to talk about approaches to acting. Um, when an actor is approaching their craft, we have two ways of approaching craft. We can look at external methods and we can look at internal methods. So there are tons of different actor trainings, and at the end of the day, most actor training methods will start either external or internal, and then they will talk about the opposite. It's really just what gets addressed first. So external methods, and we've got some examples of Anne Bogart with Viewpoints or Tadashi Suzuki. External methods are usually looking at affecting the body first and trusting that training the body will allow the actor to reach the internal places that the character needs to go. So, and there's actually some scientific research that will back this up. If you look at Amy Cuddy talks about power poses. You look up, she's got a TED Talk. And she talks about, they did some research, and if you hold your arms up in a big, expansive position, like a superhero pose, if you hold that pose for 2 minutes, it actually changes the hormones that your body emits. It's pretty crazy. So we know that the way we hold our body affects how people perceive us and how we start to internally feel, because our hormones actually affect our emotions and our internal life. Okay, and so external methods are going to talk about training your body. They're going to talk about stamina. They're going to talk about poses that may evoke different emotions. They're going to teach the performer to be sensitive to what's going on in their bodies and to make sure that their internal life responds to that physical stimulus. And so that's what a lot of that training looks like. So for example, it says here, Tadashi Suzuki uses long poses and the language of the feet. Those long poses, first of all, build strength and stamina, which is hugely important for a performer, but also as performers hold these long poses, they start to feel different emotions. And they start to have thought processes, and it's a lot about being present and in the moment. We can contrast that with internal methods, and Stanislavski is considered to be one of the major promoters of the internal methods, and he talks about internal life. Our prime task is to create the inner life of a character. So inner life, we're looking at the character's personality. We're looking at, we call it their inner monologue. So if you ever have a moment when you're listening to somebody speak, but you've got a thought process going on in your head, that's your inner monologue. Nobody hears it but you, but you're definitely like having a conversation with yourself. Or emotions. All of those feelings, that is internal inner life. Stanislavski also starts to talk about the actor's task, and this can start to feel like intellectualizing a character, but like, what is the actor's objective within a scene? So everything that happens on stage must happen for a reason, and these reasons are rooted in intellectual analysis and emotional analysis and text analysis, character analysis, all of the analyses. But we're looking at starting from the inner life. And so starting from the inner life, if an actor can really emotionally root into all of these objectives and tasks and things, the theory is, and we see it happen, that those intentions can also affect the external presentation. They can affect the actor's voice, the actor's body, all of these things. So either way, we're looking for a way to tell a story. We're looking for a way to portray a character in a way that is sincere. It's really just, what is the starting point? So how do we become an actor? Actors do three major things. They create characters, they train their instrument, and they have discipline on the job. So we're going to talk about these. First, creating a character. For an actor to create a character, and this is whether we're using internal method, external method, whatever, the actor is still going to discover the character's goal. What needs to be achieved through interaction with other characters. Now, interaction doesn't just have to be words, right? Interaction is nonverbal communication, as well as spoken communication. Actors read the script And they collect evidence to support their claims. So if the script says Judy walks into the room, rolls her eyes at Bob at the refrigerator, and then leaves, I mean, that's a whole moment this actor has had. So what was the goal? Was the point to let Bob know she was there and she was pissed? Maybe. So collect evidence to support your claim. Well, in the script it says she walks in, she rolls her eyes. So rolling one's eyes, that's usually a nonverbal communication of irritation or sarcasm or something like that, right? There's a judgment there. And then she leaves. And then using goals and evidence to support action. So the actor is going to take action. If the script says that Judy does these things, then that actor will physically do those things, but will also bring in his or her own interpretation of those actions and bring in his or her own emotional intent to those actions. But we're using these goals and evidence to support the physical action and the quality, the performance of that physical action. Actors identify tactics. So in any given scene, an actor is going to make a choice as to how each line is said. Tactics are usually what is the intent. So to soothe, to patronize, we usually use active verbs. And that's what tactics are. And then they play within the style of the production. So if you've ever watched an historical drama on television, and then you've watched like a science fiction drama on television, those are two different, completely different styles. They're different acting styles. They're different worlds. So the physicality is different. The tone of voice is different. The patter of the sentences is different. We can go back to Aristotle's Poetics here. An actor is going to play within the style of the production. If you take somebody, if you take Mr. Darcy from an historical movie, and then you place him in a science fiction comedy, or if you place him in Star Trek, right? It's a very different posture, a very different type of character, and they don't quite feel like they're in the same world. So actors all want to feel like they're playing in the same world. Okay, so they're creating characters, but they're creating characters that are in the world of the other characters. Next, the actor has to train his or her instrument. The actor's instrument is the actor's body and the actor's voice and the actor's imagination and use of sincerity. The goal is to have versatility, precision, strength, and sincerity. And this comes from physical training. A lot of it is strength. But a lot of it can be like dancers. You have isolation and the ability to execute movements, even the subtlest movements, repetitively, like over and over again in exactly the same way with really the same timing, but also with the same sincerity. And we're going to do that with vocal too. So an actor, and especially like if you're looking at stage, an actor has to be able to say the same words over and over again every single night without losing their voice, but also with some level of heightened emotion. Because if we go back to that augmented actor video, everything is a little bit larger than life, even in films, right? So that same heightened emotion, but still with sincerity. And actors also need to train the imagination and willingness to play. This is something you see a lot in theater improvisational training. Theater improv is training imagination and willingness to play. And sometimes willingness to play is willingness to explore and to make a fool of yourself, right? To get the answer wrong. Come up with 15 options. Now, that's imagination, that's creativity. So actors train their voice, they train their body, and they train their imagination and sense of play. And then finally, after they've done all of this training, they're still expected to have extreme discipline on the job. So actors are not independent artists. They work in tandem with large groups of people. So if I am the main character in a scene. There might be 5 other characters in that scene, but I'm the person who's having conversations with everybody. Great. If I am 10 minutes late to rehearsal, that means that the director could not do his or her job. The other actors couldn't necessarily do their jobs because I wasn't there. So it's super collaborative. Theater and film, because acting happens in both theater and film, and they have very, very different kinds of hours, but they're both really challenging. So if I'm in film, and I'm on the job, I might have 5 a.m. makeup calls, like just to have somebody put makeup on my face, fix my hair, and put me in costume. I'm going to be there at 5 a.m., and that's like a nice time, right? Sometimes it's earlier. Also, actors who are working in film often have to change their schedules at the drop of a hat. It's not, film isn't usually scheduled 5 months in advance. Film is scheduled like the week before. So a lot of times when you look at actors having jobs where they are waiting tables and also doing film, it's because waiting tables has a more flexible last-minute scheduling system. Now in theater also has challenging hours, but it's totally different. In theater, you might schedule your play. You might be cast in this play 5 months in advance, which is amazing, right? We can plan. But you're still going to have nightly or weekly rehearsals. If you go into a rehearsal process, you're going to have 9 to 5, maybe even later, 9 to 5 rehearsal days. You're going to have nightly performances. You are performing, you are on the job on the weekend nights. So think about it. You might be performing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, day and night. You're going to have back-to-back performances. Often on Saturdays, they will have a matinee, which is an afternoon performance, and then an evening performance. So you're doing the same performance back-to-back, and you're going to have holiday performances. I know many times I have been with my family on Christmas and everybody goes, well, let's go see a play. And we go see a play. Those performers are working during that holiday, right? So we have challenging hours in film. We have challenging hours in theater. And that takes a lot of discipline and family support to be able to do that. And finally, performers have a lot of mental and physical demands. You're looking at extended hours of focus and physical energy, and this is whether you're in film or theater. It takes a lot of focus to stay in a character. It takes a lot of focus to rehearse that character hours after hour after hour after hour. And then it takes a lot of focus to stay in that character for the duration of a play. It also takes a lot of physical and emotional energy. It takes physical health and psychological composure. So actors aren't only taking care of their bodies, they're also taking care of their emotional health. Every character that we watch on stage or in film is not emotionally healthy. And actors have to live through that in some sense of the word. So how, and many actors have rituals or routines who help them do this, but everybody has to answer this. How do you take care of yourself when you're playing a character that is going through a traumatic journey in their life? What is the physical care, and also what is the psychological and emotional care? And then finally, we're looking at deep, attentive interaction between performers. Performers play all sorts of relationships, and they have to be able to communicate and take care of themselves and also take care of each other. And also maintain a relationship that is professional. We always hear in the tabloids about somebody being in a show and then, the lead characters, they fell in love. Well, I mean, that can happen, and that can be real. But it also is something that if you're a performer and you're in a committed relationship, and then you go into a show and you have to play a relationship with another actor, how do you maintain your personal life? How do you stay healthy? How do you take care of that other performer? Play the actions, tell the story that you need to tell. But also, maintain a healthy personal life. So these are all of the things that actors are dealing with, and all of the things that actors are expected to do. It's an exciting profession, but there's a lot that goes into it.